the land of her birth. My next guest is a little Aussie battler. She made her name in Neighbours, but so did many others who sank without trace. She didn't. She made a career in pop. She took the barbs. Critics dubbed her the singing budgie, but she proved them wrong. She's had 34 consecutive hit singles in the UK, and this week at the Brit Awards picked up 2 major gongs. Ladies and gentlemen, Kylie Minogue.
Hi, Parky.
Hi, darling. How are you?
I'm very excited to be here.
Are you?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's you. Because I walked onto the set today for rehearsals, and everyone that I was with and myself, we all went, it's the Parky set. We were all very, very excited. So excuse me if I blush.
I think you're easily pleased, actually, Kylie. Well, thank you for being so. You flatter me, and I'm blushing. But listen, I mean, what about yourself? I mean, it's covered in gongs. I mean, fresh from the awards at the Brits, and an amazing 2 years you've had, isn't it? So, I mean, the last 2 years have been remarkable.
Well, it's nice to have a focal point for myself and everyone that's worked so hard for the last 2 years. I mean, no one can really appreciate how much work you put in, but for all of us, it was nice to say cheers and be excited about, you know, about the awards. It was really fantastic.
What was the start of it all? You're in America, weren't you? Trying to have a quiet time when it all happened.
I bought a house in the States, in LA, because I love going there, and no one knows who I am. You know, I'm in department stores and they ask me where the lingerie section is. And I didn't know. I don't work here, sorry. So I bought this place and I thought this will be great, you know, I can escape what I do. And it was prior to the last album, so 2 albums ago. Long story short, I only went there twice and everything just took off with Spinning Around a couple of years ago, and I haven't stopped. I literally haven't stopped. So it's been... I might as well have burnt cash. I completely screwed up with the house. Lost money. It was a terrible, terrible move.
But you might need it in the future, because you're actually breaking in America now, aren't you?
It's looking that way.
Yeah. And wouldn't that be a major ambition of yours?
It would have been many, many years ago, but for a long time now, it's just become lower and lower and lower on my list of priorities. Because I just thought you need to spend so much time in the States to cover and to get yourself known that I couldn't spend a year, you know, Kylie Minogue. Oh, you're Australian, right? And frankly, I'd rather put pins in my eyes than go through that for a year. But I always did say that, you know, no disrespect to them at all, but I always said if I did have a song that started to take off, well, it would be rude not to follow it up.
It would be very rude.
So I did go to the States, and we now have a top 10 here, and who knows what's going to happen from here.
When you look at your career, it seems to be evident that from a very early age you wanted to be in the business, didn't you? You wanted to be... What was it? Want to be a star or what? What was it?
Well, when I was 7 or 8 or 9 singing into the hairbrush, I wanted to be Olivia Newton-John, more to the point, in that black outfit in Greece. But no, I never... I mean, it's funny, Russell saying just before that he was chosen rather than him choosing to go into film. And I feel that way about what I do. I landed a job, and then I thought I'd like to make a career out of this, so I signed on for The Doll, as you do. I'm going to be an actor, I must sign on to The Doll.
First thing you do.
And Neighbours came up in that time, so I never got a check. And no, I mean, you hear of people that say when they were really young, again, it's more an American thing, I think. You know, I was 3 years old and I just knew I wanted to be... I'd never had any...
You didn't have that at all?
It wasn't about being famous, it was about doing a job and...
Which you enjoyed doing, yes. But, I mean, you couldn't have worked out, could you? I mean, I remember meeting you in Australia, it must have been the beginning of the Neighbours thing when it went to Channel 10, because originally it was a failure, wasn't it? And
it
went
was
on Channel 7.
It was axed from one station.
Exactly, then it went to Channel 10 and then it started taking off. But I mean, nobody could have, you couldn't imagine, I couldn't imagine in wildest dreams what would have happened from that point on. It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Not at all.
And of course, what started it all off was this amazing success that Neighbours had, particularly here.
I wish I could have been transported here to experience Neighbours at that time, because all I hear, even from people I've worked with for a number of years, the story will sneak out one day. They'll say, oh, by the way, the wedding, I was, you know, it was beauty college and all the girls had to nick off and, you know, skip a test or something. Yeah. I mean, people come up with these incredible stories that...
It caught the imagination.
That still surprise me.
And then from that was the start of it. I mean, 20 million people watched that or something like that. It was extraordinary.
Something like that. I always feel really grateful that whatever my beginnings were, I've turned them to my.
You have, which begs the question. I mean, how come that you didn't become disposable? See, what is it in you that's I mean.
Well, it's the $64,000 question. I don't know, and I'm more comfortable not knowing. I would probably mess it up. There's an immense goodwill towards me, and as you mentioned in the intro, with this living in this country and the way people have pretty much adopted me. I really don't know. You see, I think I try to be honest. I try to be myself.
It's not as if, you see, it's been an easy ride, because it hasn't been. Because when you know, in the early days, the critics, you were their Aunt Sally, weren't you?
Oh, there were some great ones, yeah.
Weren't there? The singing Budgie and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And even too, I mean, if you're, again, reading about you, I mean, it's interesting. There were one or two people who believed in you, weren't there, at the time? That you lent upon like some sort of rock. Michael Hutchins, if you read your life story, he comes out as a kind of hero figure. Yeah. Now, it's very strange that the perception of Hutchins now is very much different than the one that you had. But, I mean, how did he come into your life, and what did he do for you?
Well, I think anyone who has met Michael, when I'm doing interviews with a lot of people, obviously ask me about him, and I just, before I go any further, I say, did you meet him? Did you meet him?
I never met him,
okay.
No.
Because he just was incredibly charismatic, very intelligent, generous, funny, fabulous storyteller. I mean, he just was larger than life, but humble with it. And I met him at a point in my life where I was just ready to look at the world, and it was like he took my blinkers off. So come to think of it, there was a time before we started seeing each other, he'd said he was in the studio, and I think it was de rigueur at that time to kind of slag me off as much as possible, and I think I came on the television, and so the people in this room were giving me a hard time, and he recalled the story to me, saying he stood up and said, no, I like her, I think she's really cool or nice or whatever he said, but saw something in me when it was not the cool thing to do. Yeah.
But I mean, but was he indeed a kind of Svengali figure? I mean, did he mould you? Did he shape you? Did he?
Yeah, he did. He was the closest person in my life at that time, and such a well, I was so impressionable and was more than happy to be guided by him. I mean, he never, just one of those amazing, I'm sure everyone finds someone in their life that can do this for them, or with them I should say, where he just nurtured me. He never told me what to do, never said, you know, this is the way you should perform, or these are the decisions you should make, but just absolute belief in me.
Which gave you confidence.
Which did give me confidence, yeah.
Yeah. There's a downside to Michael Hutchins, of course, which you must have seen. There was the drugs and all that, but you never got involved. Again, this is interesting about you. You've survived as long as you have in the pop industry without falling into the many pitfalls that there are.
I'm basically quite straight and boring.
No, you're not straight and boring at all. I mean,
well, as far as that goes, I mean, I like most people, had a little 2 or 3 year period in my life where I went out all the time, and I did experience some of those things.
Sure.
But it just doesn't suit me long term. I'd rather have my wits about me, and yeah, just let me know.
Just a couple of final questions. I mean, you've had this extraordinary business of reinventing yourself every so often. I mean, is that a conscious decision? I mean, do you sort of sit down and think, well, tomorrow I'm going to wear those gold hot pants and become somebody else? Whose inspiration, and inspiration is the word, were those gold hot pants?
The gold hot pants, I almost sent the gold hot pants out to do their own interviews, because at the time it was all about the gold hot pants. Fine, you go out and you do the work, okay? All I ever do is talk about you. They were just in my wardrobe. My girlfriend had bought them for 50p at some charity store or a market or something. And I'd been in LA at the house that was a disaster, having a fantastic time. And it was getting close to doing the video for Spinning Around. I'm getting more and more calls, more and more frantic. When are you coming back? We need to get this rolling. I'll just... I arrived 2 days before the video, and I was with my creative collaborator and stylist, William Baker. And as usual, we're like, oh, okay. Theme, hot pants and a wink. Yes, that will do the trick. And he says, whatever happened to those old gold hot pants he had? Well, if you can find them, great, because they're somewhere in the wardrobe. He pulled them out, and... So there wasn't a lot of thought behind those. But
there again, obviously, just a little inspiration. It just shows with all the planning in the world, just one inspiration and one pair of 50p trousers, and what happened?
Best investment
25p a leg. I mean, Kylie Minogue.